Hi guys, Mel K here. Thanks for joining the Mel K Show. I have a very special show today, and I just wanted to let everyone know that it's not my typical show. I get thousands of emails from amazing people all over the world, and I got one from this woman. She is a survivor of SRA, satanic ritual abuse, and I know that many people out there call this conspiracy theory or just don't want to believe that it's real and that it's happening all over the world in many elite circles and everywhere. And the sad part is that the hardest part for people that have suffered this and have grown up in this world is that most people don't believe them, even though there's millions of survivors. And I have been lucky enough to have found somebody who not only wants to talk about it, but wants to give hope to others. She joins a line of many people that have tried to expose it, especially over the last 3 years. And after the revelations came out about the Epstein Island Temple and adrenochrome and other really horrific things that we've uncovered. And in the lines of Isaac Cappy and Sarah Ruth Ashcraft and Fiona Barrett and Cisco Wheeler, Kathy O'Brien, many people have come out, and I wanted to give her a voice. She wanted to come on and discuss it in hopes of maybe encouraging people that are suffering in silence or that were not believed, that maybe her story could help heal them, because she is a true warrior and definitely a gift from God to all. So anyway, I will bring her in, and amazing story. And I recall Donald Trump being asked about it, and people were very condescending. I believe it was a CNN reporter that mentioned satanic ritual abuse and an elite cult, laughing. Well, it's not funny. And please keep an eye open. And if you know survivors, there's many places out there to find help. Kathy Fox's blog, and there's also Jesse out there, that Jesse C, that really helps a lot. So anyway, here she comes, and enjoy. Well, compassion and love. Thanks. Hi, guys. So I am here with my new great friend and survivor warrior, a love of a human, and a story so unbelievable that all you can do is say she is a true hero. I want to welcome Norma, and I want her to introduce herself. Thank you for joining me, Norma. I'm so grateful.
Well, I'm so grateful, and thank you for having me. And I have sorry that you've been under some attack.
Hey, but, that's what happens when you're fighting
you're a strong
demons.
Cookie, and I was getting attacked too. And just like us can't get the sound and things going, it's more of the same.
Yeah, I know.
What I wanted to say was thank you for this opportunity to share with others. I'm 59 years old. I am stage 4 terminal cancer. I have come back from actual death 3 times, at the age of 4, at the age of 21, at the age of 57. So I have had a life that was never, I was not in power of where I was created, which was apparently in Washington State. I was purchased from a Catholic family. I was purchased by my adopted father, who bought and paid for me, of which I was reminded of. And I was grown up in a home that was on one side beautiful. I had my mother, my grandmother, and her 4 aunties. They were Italian nobility, escaped Mussolini from northern Italy. They were the Marchesi de Pallavicinis. Very Catholic, very good people. They raised me in North Vancouver. They came and built their own hotel in 1911. So my mother met my adopted father-to-be. He was a new recruit for the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. And in 1954, when he came to North Vancouver, British Columbia, there was no RCMP station. He was billeted in a single room in my mother and grandmother's hotel. So he came in to a very wealthy family whose father had just passed away. and went, hey, look at this woman. My mother was a concert pianist, operatic singer, a complete genius, an impresario, and very well connected, good woman, very Catholic family. I come in as a complete being from another planet. I never felt that I fitted in. I was raised under a beautiful, the female side of my family was delightful. They were absolutely, yes, they were Catholics, but they were good spiritual people, not evil, demonic people. My adopted father was as black as coal from the inside out. In fact, he was born in Chicago in 1927. So he came from a gritty part of the United States. His father also was Scottish Rite, so he was Scottish Rite. It goes way back in his family line. They were from Westmoreland County up in Cumberland in Northern England. And I think he's got Prussian background, Prussian lines. Yes. He was the hardest ass you'll ever meet. He was 250 pounds, at least 6'1", and very intimidating. Things started to go wrong on my first defiance of him as a child. And he was dressed up. He was a Shriner, as they all go through. These Masons move up. They do the clown thing. They do the shrine circus, oh, we're collecting money for children's hospitals. Oh, yeah. And first time he came to the car, I saw him in this clown outfit. I wasn't 4 years old. And I went into complete hysteria. My mom had to take me away. I just completely exploded. I couldn't go near him. And when he came home and tried to explain, he took the makeup off and said to me, from that day forward, it was over. I didn't trust him. My soul, my spirit, my angels protected me because I was just a child. But I knew he was evil. I knew that he was very, very dark, and that your soul knows when something wants to kill you. He had his natural born son, don't forget, 6 years older, who also tried to kill me. When they brought me home, I was just newborn, and he tried to throw the bassinet off our second-story balcony. No one told a little boy in 1961, who's 6 years old, no one told him I was coming onto the planet, never mind taking a place at the family. So the little Italian prince was knocked off his throne. And he, already being influenced by the demonic activity within the house, he was already infected. He was not a good brother. He assaulted me multiple times. I didn't even know what it was. I was only 4. As life went on, my adopted father, and I had many head-to-heads. He knew of my psychic power, and he was very, I realize now, terrified of my power. I didn't know the power that I had in God. Right. He knew real well. Boy, did he know. So by the time I was 17, my parents had sent me to a Catholic convent school, the Convent of the Sacred Heart in Vancouver, British Columbia, at the age of 15. So I was going into grade 10. On the first outing at the convent, is a beautiful old building, looked like, your typical 1800s castle-like convent. Mm-hmm. And went into the back area because I was always into the birds and animals. I wanted to go into the forested area. Well, there was a little iron fence, little gate, and it was broken down, but you weren't supposed to go in there. And I said, why not? I went in there. The grass was like waist high. And when I went through onto that grass, onto that area, I picked up, oh my God, it was just, I could actually see and feel hundreds of babies, lots of babies under that ground. I would like to see that dug up. Right. So I knew really quickly from my first day there that this was not going to be a place that I wanted to stay or be at. I railed against the system. I got expelled right before the end of the year. Anyways, the joke is I survived that. That summer, I started going to a teen discotheque, and it was about 15 miles from my home. And it was no alcohol, no drugs. And this is the day of Grease. This is the day of John Travolta. This is the day of, she's a brick house. Okay. And I go with my 4 other girlfriends from school. We'd meet up on the Friday night. I'd stay at their house, or my dad would come and pick me up. Well, this night he wasn't picking me up. He said he was going to. I phoned and said, "Are you coming?" He says, "I'm not picking you up. Find your own gosh darn way." He'd go through 3 bottles of scotch. Okay, he's a big man, big drinker. Wow. And when he got drunk, he got loud, he got nasty, he broke things, he hurt people, and asshole. But because of his position in the community, he was head of the restaurant, hotel, bar association, head of the Boy Scouts, you name it, right? He was control, because he had money that came down through my mother's family, not his money. But the devil blessed him. He rose up through the ranks to become number 2 Illuminati in all of Western Canada. He had tried to, well, he did. He had me abducted from the teen discotheque one night when he didn't come to pick me up and said he wouldn't be there. And my girlfriend said, "Well, how are you going to get home?" Well, this guy who was all dressed up in the black velvet shirt, white scarf, the real disco, the dark Italian, thinks he's God. And he's been hitting on me for about 3 weeks down there, right? Every weekend. And he said, oh, you don't have a ride home. He says, well, I'm going out to Mission. He says, I live out there. He said, I'll drive you. Your girlfriend's car is full. We'll just follow behind. And I went, the girls are going, yeah, okay. Cause she had a little mini, it's just too small of a car for 6 girls. Right. I never made it to my girlfriend's house. I was brought to his mother's house, but not in the house. Where I was kept wasn't in a cage. It was in a garage, outdoor carport garage that was locked with padlocks on the outside, and once in, locked from the inside. And I never left that space but 2 times. Once to go in the house because he needed me to have a shower and clean up, And his mother brought me aside. The hockey game was on, and she goes, "Where did you come from?" And I told her what was going on. I said, "I need a phone." She said, "You see, she had a lock on her door from the outside." She says, "My Tony, he's a bad boy." He says, "My Tony is a very bad boy." He says, "If he knows," he said, "he will kill me." She said, "I'll go unlock the door. You go have a shower. And while you're in the shower, I'll keep, they're watching the game. I'll keep them busy, but you go and make the call. I'll knock the door." So exactly that happened. I went into her room. I made the call. I went through operator, emergency call. I explained. Operator answers and says, "Ms. Porter, your daughter is on the phone and she is she's in a bad situation and needs to be rescued, right? She's trapped." And he says, "I don't have any goddamn daughter," and hung up. Tried to phone back. The phone we just kind of hung up and put down again. So my mother didn't even know that likely the conversation. She never even heard it or saw it or didn't know where I was. So for 7 weeks, 8 weeks almost, I was gone. I was abused daily. It was satanic ritual abuse. He was also a martial arts kickboxer. So I was broken. He gave me an infection, which led to the reasons why I lost all 4 of my children, babies. So I have 4 that lost because of the infections and the damage that he did inside of my body. And I carried that burden for up until 2017. And as I was doing research, when I got diagnosed, as you know, I got diagnosed with triple terminal cancer in 2016, and there was nothing, no hope. So I'm a big researcher. I also trained paramedic, amongst other things, but I mean, research. You should see how many books I've got filled in my room since last year. I've got everything written down. I've got such a lump on my thumb, I can barely write. It's so bad. But I'm a big researcher and I love science and study, kind of like you, but you do the more the political stuff, bless your heart.
Huh.
And I learned a lot of things. And I was being taken out of that garage because I was past the point of being useful. And he told me every day that he was going to kill me, how he was going to kill me. And he had this great big long knife and the process that was going to go. It was a ritual.
I know.
He took me from this shack that I was in. When you mentioned the other day that I was told I had to do something, he took me to a chicken coop and gave me a baseball bat and shoved me in a chicken coop and says, you're not coming out until you kill a chicken and then you're going to eat it. So there was the first thing of me sacrificing, killing something, wringing its neck at the point of a knife.
That's how it starts.
I'm an animal lover. Okay. I was a mess. Not only that, but pluck it. Then he made me cook it in his mother's oven. You couldn't eat it. It was like, it wasn't food. And he insisted that I eat it. I couldn't put it down. It just kept coming back up. Okay. So we get to the point where he's taking me. I am now going to kill you. This is the day. And we went to a motel, a real skanky, the Skylight Motel or some skanky thing like that. And you know how the old motels are, everybody parked out front. The offices was about 20 doors down, and that's where the Coke machine and everything is.
Right.
And I thought, what am I going to do? I have one male friend that I can trust, because I couldn't call home because that wasn't going to get me anywhere. And Tobin, my friend, picked up the phone and I told him, I said, this is what's happening. He goes, where are you? No one's seen me for 2 months.
Right.
I said, look, this long story short, I've been abducted. He's going to kill me. He's taking me to this motel. After this tonight, I won't be alive. I need you to get in touch with my mom. Here's where I am. And tell mom to drive by in the Cadillac twice, by the driveways. And when I see her go by the first time, I'm going to tell him to go get a Coke. That please go get me a Coke. I don't drink Coke, never have I. Please go get me a Coke. I'm thirsty. I need something. That was the plan. It worked. Long story short. Saw my mom drive by in the caddy, sent him out to get a can of Coke. She drives in with the caddy. I'm bolting out the door. I've got my hand on the car door. I'm trying to shut it. He's right there trying to reef it the other way. And I swear it wasn't me that shut it. God shut that door. And he just went wham, wham, shut that door. And my mother floored it. And he had his hand in the door and he was getting dragged by the car. He wouldn't let go. So she took me, first place she took me was to a doctor.
Right.
And I was at that doctor's for 2 hours. The doctor examined me for 20 minutes and spent an hour and a half with my mother.
Oh.
This was December 23rd, now at about 6:00 at night. December 23rd.
Right.
So mom takes me home and he didn't know I was coming home. Mom just acted. And I walk in the door with mom and I'm sick, right? I'm not even standing up. I'm really ill. Toxemia. I had a toxic shock amongst other things. And he goes, what the fuck are you doing here? That's my father. Right? What the fuck? He would never swear in front of my mother. He did. And my mother's like, what are you doing, bud? What are you doing? And I went to my room and just broke down. And I could hear them out there arguing. Mom didn't know that he had hung up on me. He had told my mother that I had gone into prostitution.
But he set this whole thing up though, right?
I was married. I was just married.
I can't even imagine.
So the next day was Christmas Eve. And my parents had their best friends coming over for a Christmas dinner and all this. And he comes into my room, never knocked, comes into my room and with an ultimatum. He says, now listen here, girl. We have friends coming over tonight. It was Christmas Eve. And you're going to tell them just what a girl like you gets for Christmas. And I said, what? You're going to tell them what a dirty, filthy slut gets for Christmas. I said, but I didn't get anything for Christmas. He said, oh yeah, you got some shampoo and some deodorant and a toothbrush. That won't even begin to touch the filth that you are. This is how I talk. Not in front of my mom.
Oh, no.
I was forced. He literally dragged me by the hair because I wasn't coming out. I wasn't coming out to see them. And he dragged me out by my hair. And these poor friends of my mom's were very good friends, were horrified. They could see I was just absolutely, they left. They barely tried to get down their dinner and then had to leave. When they left, then I was blamed for ruining Christmas. And I was told to go to my room and not come out. So I wanted to go back to school. I just wanted to get out of that house, finish my grade 12, and get out. I could never tell my mom. She'd come in, want to know. I couldn't break her heart. I couldn't do it. I couldn't tell her. She wouldn't understand. What are you going to tell your mom? Can't. But I'm sharing my story now because I overcame it. And the reason I overcame it is because ever since I was a child, when I split my head open at 4 years old on a radiator and went into an emergency, I died on the table. I lifted up out of my body through the top of my head, and I looked down, typical thing that you hear, looking down, seeing myself. But what I remember was this big black football going whoosh, whoosh, and I could see myself laying face down because they were working on my head. And there was this black football. And I told and then I was in a crib in the hospital. I was there for almost a month. And they had a net thing over my crib so I couldn't get out. And it was a steel crib. So I was in a cage, wasn't I? Mm-hmm. And so I was there for a month and I did finally get out. And my mother asked me, "What are you talking about?" And I kept going on about, she said, "But how did you see that?" And I said, "Because I was up at the top of the roof." She didn't understand. She said, "Are you telling me, did you see yourself? Were you dead?" I said, "No, I wasn't dead. I was up, I was above myself."
Right.
Even I didn't realize the full process. Okay. So I survived that. I fast forwarded to what happened. My brother molested me. And my adopted brother.
Right, I know.
He didn't join the Masons. He was just demonic, filled from all the entities that were in that house and in that environment. My grandmother died from cancer. She was in the hospital. And she came into my room on the night she died. And she came in. She was in just her regular kimono and everything. And she came in and spoke to me in Italian and said, "Aurelia, sono io, sono la nonna, non c'hai freddo, dica alla mamma che io vai a casa, vai a mio papa. Ti amo, ti amo." So what she said was to tell my mom that it's okay. She's gone home to be with her family, to not be afraid, and that she loved me. She loved mama. I went into their bedroom. They were listening to some radio show, the CKO. This is Ira Blue. It used to blast. It was like from somewhere in the States. This is Ira. I'll never forget it because it drove me crazy every night. And I went in and I was crying and I went in and I jumped up on the bed to tell mama. And I said, "Mama. I said, Nona's passed away. Nona. She said, no. Nona's not passed away." I said, "Yes, she is. She just was in my room and she just told me to come and tell you this." I said, "She came in. I told you what I just said." And the old man literally flew off the bed, put his glasses on, and started berailing me for coming up and saying such ridiculous things and upsetting my mother. He said, "Don't you know if your grandmother had died, the hospital would have phoned us first and let us know that she'd got her last rites and have called the priest." I said, "No, she's gone." And my mom was holding me and rocking me. Then the phone rang. Right. Guess who? It was the hospital. My grandmother had passed about 15 minutes ago, but not to worry. The priest had come to see her within that 15 minutes and she got her last rites. And my mom's looking at my dad and my dad's looking at me and goes, "Go to bed. Just go to bed." Right? So that whole thing in my life was always, he had so much hate for me. When my mom died, the day of the funeral, a girlfriend was with me. Well, a whole bunch of family was there. And he came after me, and he was wanting to know where my mother's wedding rings were. And there's a house full of people. Like my mom was a very well-known woman,
Right.
wanting to know where her wedding rings were. Use your goddamn ESP and get them. I know you know where they are. You're a witch. I said, no, but you're a warlock. I said, but I've got God and Jesus on my side.
Right.
Play your best card. You don't have one. You've got the Joker.
Right.
I've got all the aces, and I've got God on my side.
You do.
I'm not afraid of you anymore. I don't even hate you. You're pathetic. You're a bully. You're pathetic. And you're the spawn of Satan. And you are going to die and burn for the rest of your life in hell. Well, I got cut out of the will, cut out of everything. Good, great. I don't need anything, right? I don't need anything, nothing. Okay, so he dies several years later. And I'm in my bed with my husband. And I bolt up out of bed and I say, ding, doc, the warlock's dead. And he goes, what? I said, ding, doc, the warlock's dead. I said, Bud's dead. Dead, dead, dead. And he said, well, what do you mean? I said, I just got all this. I get huge download, sacred geometry, Egyptology, the underworld, Anubis, the whole archetype of what went down and where he went. And he did go, and Anubis took him to that underworld. So he's not with us.
No. No.
There was some good news in all of this at the end of this. When I got diagnosed, and this is going to pull this back together. When I got diagnosed, there was nothing. I went into research mode like you do, hours and hours. And I finally one day got a little ping, and it was U.S. clinical government trials. It was the Dana-Farber Cancer Institute at Harvard in Boston. And I prayed about it, and I find this link, and I call my oncologist, and he said, I am all over this for you, sweetheart, all over it. Turned out I did go down. Turned out I did get this drug. And then in 2018, because I was going every 30 days, every 90 days, I spent a lot of time in Boston. I love Boston.
Right.
I love Boston. But then I got an infection of C. difficile, and it was an extremely virulent strain. This was the second time I'd had this infection, but this was a super virulent strain, and I didn't make it. And they phoned my husband to tell him I had died. It wasn't until 2 hours later, they phoned back, unable to explain this to my husband. Mr. Grubb, we don't know how to explain this, but your wife, without resuscitation, the paddles didn't work. She was beyond that. We can't explain it, but your wife is very much alive. She's critical, but she's alive. And he goes, that's my girl. That's my girl.
Aw, yeah.
He said, if anybody can come back from the dead, that girl can do it. She's done it before. You know?
Yes, yes.
So I just give all the glory to God and to Jesus, our creator, whatever energy you want to call that. I've had my angels all my life, and no matter how ugly, how bad, how dark a place that you're in, God is with you. God is with you. He kept that seed, that hope, that seed of love burning inside my heart, and it would not be extinguished, not by that evil dude or anybody else. So while I found this research, as I was doing this one night, I couldn't remember the name of my abductor. I couldn't remember any of the details of his name for years and years and years. And then it hit me. It all just came flooding back. And I punched his name into the computer. And what comes up? Boom. 2 years before, in 2012, he was found in a cheap motel room, murdered in a vicious, absolutely vicious, debodifying way.
Right.
And I'm writing a book, and that name of that book will be Snitches Get Stitches. So for all what he had done in his life and who he had hurt and who he had killed and the girls he had killed, he got done. And I had just this huge heart left. I was free. I was free. I was free. 20 years, I couldn't even remember his name. It was blocked.
Right.
And then it was time, and
Right.
it was a release.
Right.
So
Right.
anybody wants to say that SRA isn't real, then you're living in a non-reality.
Right. Right.
To think that people will hurt small children and the things that they would do, God will punish them for. I want to be on the other side. I want to be helping. I want to be healing. I want to work with kids and animals together, right? I want to heal those hearts with them. I want to hold their hands. I want to talk to them. I want to love them. I want to hug them. I want to tell them that God loves them. And no matter what has happened, you are divine. Divine. We're all divine creatures. The sub creatures, they're not so divine. Yeah, that's demonic. But there's a whole lot more of us than them.
Right. What do you think about the people that, because there are a lot of survivors like you, and most of them have found that it was God and fighting back against the demons in that sense. But how about the fact that people aren't believed, that people question? What advice do you have for anyone out there who feels that nobody, like you got through it by yourself? I think the biggest issue is that people are scared because they don't feel like they'll be believed.
Well, I was saved because that friend of mine picked up that phone. Now here's how ugly and deep it goes. For his part in saving my life, what my adopted father did was had him killed. And get this, now this is when you see weird death. Okay, this is a weird one. He was found with his little Austin Mini. The steering wheel had been put in upside down. His body was laced with drugs that he did never take, and drove into a tree or went off the road into this crevasse, whatever happened. This is after he had helped me.
Right.
Now, his dad was very high up in architecture, built the Bentall Towers, which was big towers in Vancouver, from very big family, good family, but not a Masonic family.
Right.
And what I was learned is there's only two things a Masonic brother does not have to stand behind a brother for. And one of them is treason, and the other one is murder. But they can, but they don't have to. So for the treason and the murders that man has committed, they are capable of anything. And the people who don't believe it, you're just brainwashed. You're not brainwashed. You're in the dream spell. And until you break that spell and get rid of the fear and stand in your own light and ask your own soul, ask in here. Don't ask out there, ask in here. It's like if I gave you a spoonful of sugar, you go, that's sweet. If I gave you a spoonful of shit, you're not going to, that's sweet.
Right.
You got to know the difference between shit and sugar.
Right. Right. Right.
Sorry about the language, but
no,
and there's a lot of shit in this world.
Language. Yeah.
I'm going to tell you something that no one has ever revealed about these Illuminati. Now, I told you that my father was the number 2 guy in all of Canada. He was the grand potentate, the grand, the wizard is what they call themselves, the grand wizard. Okay, not a wizard, no accident there, right? You got the towers of Boaz and
Mm-hmm.
And Wow. It's just, I found a book with my husband when we went to our beach cottage in Point Roberts, Washington. My father had died. And a whole lot of regalia had been left in that cottage. They used to have pretty sexy weekends. A lot of things went on down there with all his friends. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I found this, it was like a doctor's case full of these books, regalia, orbs, scepters, but the book of the Mason this is a 100-and-something-year-old book. Okay. Scottish Rite Mason. And this is how they are to, quote unquote, they are to appear like little angels of benevolence within their societies and within their own communities. Hence, you've got the Shriners Children's Hospital. And aren't they fun in the circus, driving around on those silly little mini bikes, dressing up like clowns? Oh, what a bunch of crazy guys they are. Yeah. Those you're watching, circuses are demonic.
Right.
They're all demonic. Everything to do with it. You've got the ringleader, it's the red, the black,
Yeah.
all of it.
Yeah.
And I can tell you this, which is going to be, no one's revealed this. This is what they do for initiation. They have to perform in the darkened room, that room with the no window, no east facing windows. They have to perform a ritual in order to get to the level that they're at. And they have to take an oath. And what they do is the guy's blindfolded, he's in the dark, they're wearing their little white apron, and they have to perform something called knee bent. That's KNEEBENT. If we don't get bomb zapped and attacked for releasing that, which means they have to go down on each other and give them a blowjob to the grandmaster. Everybody's got to do the blowjob on their bent knee before Satan. That is the ultimate ritual that they must perform at that level. There's sacrifice involved in all of their rituals. They have their secret places that they go.
Right.
And I asked my mom, because she was a lady of the Eastern Star, but she didn't used to attend all those functions. She didn't like it. She didn't want to go. She didn't go. And she said, no, bud, you go. I've got to teach. She was a music teacher, right? Piano teacher.
Right.
And I asked her, I said, so what do you guys get up to up there? She says, oh, they all just get drunk and crazy. That's all she'd ever say. But it was all about wife swapping.
Right.
They had girls.
Epstein
And
Island.
I don't mean women. I mean girls.
I know.
And boys.
I know.
And my father refused my brother to be an altar boy at the Catholic Church because he knew what was going on. And okay, skip back. I'm 6 years old. I'm going to Catholic Sunday school, right? My first day, my Nona is in church and I'm put into this Sunday school, Catholic Sunday school. And it's sister, whoever she was.
Right.
Looked like a witch.
Right.
And we first learned all the commandments. And thou shalt not call any father lest thy father in heaven, nor thy earthly father, father. That's what it says. So my little hand, I'm always the question. So I asked sister, what the fuck? I said, sister, why then, if the Bible says that we shall not call any father lest thy father in heaven or our earthly father, father, why do we call Father Kilty father if God says not to? Well, that got me a smack, got me a chair in the corner. She made a dunce cap, an actual dunce cap, and I had to sit with my nose touching the corner for 40 minutes. I never went back. From that day forward, I went 2 blocks up the street and hung out with the horses on the corner.
God, are you a survivor? Oh my God. I can't.
You know, the amount of poltergeist activity in my parents' house, because he was cheating on my mom, you know.
Yeah.
And one day, I went to visit my mom, and he said, "You better talk to your mother. You better stop throwing things around the room. Jesus Christ, she hit me in the head." And I'm like, "What?" And he went out the door. And I go, "Mom, what did you do today?" "What did you do?" Right? She said, "I didn't do anything, Aurelia." She said, "You know that beautiful shell we got in San Francisco that you bought for me? It's a beautiful big snail shell."
Right.
She said, "It flew off my dresser and went across the bed and it hit Bud in the side of the head. I didn't throw a thing." I said, "Yeah, yes. So in a way, I got him."
Yeah. Yeah. Well, when you were 4 years old and you told him to his face that you knew exactly what he was, from that day on, you had him, you know?
I can spot them immediately. His eyes, you see, 20 years ago, I was writing this book, and I said, it's not going to go anywhere. And the name of the book was called Children of the Reptiles. This is before any of this stuff
Right.
about people were talking about this. Okay.
Right.
I saw his eyes change to lizard eyes. They would just go black and then slit eyes on the background of his eye. And I always went, man, he had bad breath and he had bad teeth. And I'm thinking, you
They
guys
all
have the
have
best
bad teeth.
dentist in all of Vancouver, Canada. You know,
Right.
you guys go to the very best. Half of his teeth were gold. Why were his teeth so rotten?
Right. They all
Why
are.
was his breath so bad? Fearsome.
Right.
Not
Yep.
my mom, him. So have hope, kids. Anybody who's been through anything similar with SRA or being in an Illuminati family, that I was adopted, but I was purchased from Spokane, Washington. I've got the paperwork
I know you do.
and I have a name.
I know.
I have a name, and my name is a riddle. And I realized it. My name is Wendelin Hyde. Hide and seek, right? So am I Wendell or am I Hyde, you know? I've tried to find her, but I can't.
Okay.
But I have 2 birth certificates. And I asked my father, I said, "Where's my other birth certificate?" Because when mom died, she had both birth certificates. "I don't know what you're talking about." Well, I saw it because the first one was in my birth name, because it took 2.5 years before she could have come back to have claimed me. Apparently, that's what they were worried about. That's why they moved and, you know, had
Right.
me hidden.
That's what happens a lot. Yeah. Right.
So really, him being from Chicago and me being from, I want to go home. So when we've got no passports and borders, I want to go back home where I belong.
Right.
And I'll tell you, in 1981, 82, I was working doing a photo lab. I majored in arts, photography, videography, performing arts. You know, you and I are
I know.
pretty much cloned. We did the same thing. Central Casting Agency. I told you I was picked for the lead for 90210,
Yeah.
head of Fox or NBC, pardon me. Ken Trotter and Tony Shepard,
Right.
sitting beside
We got
Donna
a whole
Mills.
other show in us. This is just
Yeah,
our first show.
But all these things, and I had to back out, and I realized God stopped me from going.
I know.
He saved me. You came really close.
I know. I know. I know.
Really close. I'm glad you're here.
I'm
glad you're alive.
here.
I love you so
you.
much.
I love you
I
so
just-
much. You're such a hero. I'm so proud to know you. I'm so glad you came on. We're going to do it more often. And you know what? Your story is going to save and help a lot of people. There's so many people out there who have nobody. They can't say anything and they're scared. And I think your voice can really, really help a lot of people. And it's really brave, but I know you don't think it's brave because it's just who you are. And I love you and I'm going to have you back. And thank you so much. You are an inspiration and a blessing. And I'm so lucky to have you in my life. And it's only the beginning. Okay.
I'm glad you're we're tribe now.
I know.
I haven't another living soul alive in the whole world that I consider family. And I just consider you a sister already. And Alpa, And I mean, the girls are wonderful,
They are.
absolutely wonderful. And Charlie,
You'll
but
come on with us.
I didn't want to bring this out with a Charlie word. I won't. It was you that God just said, you can tell her, you can trust her.
Oh, I love you so much. We'll see you again soon. And you got lots of work to do. So no being sick.
No, I'm on glass 2. I've got the whole hydroxychloroquine routine, man. In fact, I'm not, have you noticed how much you're not sleeping and not tired? Like I'm up till 3 a.m. doing, watching you guys shows and doing research. And it's like, my dog's like, Mom, like go to sleep.
No, hey.
And I'm not tired. I have more energy now than I ever have.
Well, that's because you're doing God's work, my friend. You're doing God's work. Nobody could do it better. And I love you. And we will talk soon. And you hang in there. And this is just the beginning. Thank you. And thank you for helping and sharing, because you'd be surprised. There's so many people out there that know the truth and have no one that they can tell. So I thank you.
Well, I'd love to be able to talk with other survivors and or those that are going through the really hard things, and to be able to, really know where they're coming from and touch on the horror, from that one thing. It took away all my children. It took away everything, but you can't take God from somebody's heart and soul. And
you got them tenfold. You will. Okay. I love you, and we'll figure it out soon, and I will see you soon. Have a good night.
Love you too.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.